Hey folks, welcome back to my new series, The Lore of Zelda's NPCs. We kicked off this series a few weeks ago, but it had to take a slight intermission due to the release of the Nintendo Switch 2. But we are back, and this video is a continuation of the first episode, looking at characters in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, who have fascinating untold stories, or interesting lore behind them. You can watch these in either order, but the first part to this episode can be found linked below, or in the new Lore of Zelda's NPCs playlist if you'd like to check it out. The response to that first episode of the series was incredible. Thank you so much, and I'm really happy you liked the series. So we're back today with a second part to that opening episode. Let's take a look at more of Ocarina of Time's NPCs and characters that have cool stories behind them. And while we're here, allow me to truly be a content creator by plugging my socials, as I rarely do at the beginning of videos. Down in the description, you'll find links to all of my social pages, where I post little teasers, video updates, and just random stuff that I feel like sharing. Also down there is the link to my Discord server, if you'd like to join to chat to myself and many other awesome Zelda fans. Anyway, these videos are perfect to have on whilst you study, cook, chill, clean, or maybe even sleep. So get yourself comfortable, folks. Subscribe if you haven't already for future Zelda lore videos. And as always, be sure to go and grab yourself a delicious snack or drink to enjoy the video with. Send them in for a chance to be featured right here. And without further ado, let's get into this one. In the iconic Kakariko Windmill, we can find one of the most famous NPCs in the entire Zelda series. This is the home of the Phonogram Man. He stands in here playing his phonogram, trying to compose a musical piece inspired by the windmill itself. He loves the psychality of it, even saying he himself loves to go around and around. This is funny because what makes him so interesting is that he is responsible for creating a time loop built around the cycle of the windmill. The Song of Storms paradox, the Kakariko Windmill paradox, or the Windmill Hut Guy paradox are just a few names that this story goes by. It's well known and well documented within the Zelda community, but allow me to tell you the tale. When Link first meets the man, he is more than happy to speak with Link. It's nothing more than a friendly interaction. However, when Link jumps 7 years into the future, if he returns, he won't encounter that happy man he did in the past. Rather, the Phonogram Man doesn't recognize Link as an adult. That is, until Link pulls out his Ocarina of Time. It's in this moment that the Phonogram Man becomes angry. Much to Link's confusion, the man begins to angrily recollect the day that a boy tampered with the windmill by playing the Song of Storms. He's referring to Link, only Link hasn't learned it yet. The Phonogram Man then plays it to demonstrate, but this is the first time Link is taught that tune. The in-game purpose of this is so that Link can return to the past and play the song then, in order to drain the bottom of the well. In doing so, he closes the time loop, having now taught the song to the Phonogram Man. This NPC is a paradox, part of a time loop that Link encounters wide open, but is an essential part of closing, and it involves one of the most iconic and well-known songs in the Zelda series, the Song of Storms. I wanted to open this episode with a banger, and the Phonogram Man's story is as good as it gets. Found high up Death Mountain, inside Goron City, we can encounter the mighty leader of the Rock-Eating Brothers, Darunia. He's a serious and strict leader. However, if you can get past these barriers, he's got a big heart and loves to dance. Prior to Link setting off on his adventure, Ganondorf paid the Gorons a visit, demanding that they hand over their sacred Goron ruby. As a threat, the Gerudo King claimed that if Darunia didn't hand it over, he'd seal the entrance to Dodongo's cavern, the main food source of the Gorons, which would force them to starve. Darunia, being the brave leader he is, said no to Ganondorf, standing his ground, for not just himself, but his brothers. Ganondorf, of course, then sealed off the entrance to the cavern, and worry set in for the Goron's future. The sacred Goron ruby can actually be consumed, and temptation grew within the Gorons due to their situation. So Darunia decided to hold on tight to the ruby, locking himself away in his room awaiting the messenger from the royal family of Hyrule. That's where Link steps in, as he plays Zelda's lullaby to enter the room, and speak with the Goron leader. However, Darunia wasn't sold on Link, a boy being this messenger, and initially doesn't speak of the ruby to him, which, logically speaking, could have been cleared up by the note Link was given in order to get past the guard at the foot of Death Mountain, signed and sealed by Princess Zelda. But we'll put this down to video game logic. Instead, Link must go learn Saria's song, as he is told by other Gorons in the city that to get on Darunia's good side, you need to get him dancing. The Goron chief loves his music. Whilst this doesn't get Link the Goron ruby, it does open up a way for him to earn it. The task? Entering Dodongo's cavern and clearing out the danger. Once complete, Link is rewarded by Darunia with the Goron ruby, allowing the young hero to progress in his adventure. This leaves Darunia happy for what Link has done for himself and his people. He even asks Link to become his sworn brother, a great honour that symbolised the giving of the Goron ruby. We encounter Darunia again as an adult. During the time between encounters, the Goron leader has a son, who Darunia actually named after his friend and the Goron's saviour, Link. The Goron chief told his son so much about the hero, calling him the legendary Dodongo Buster. Link is a well-known character to the Gorons, and Darunia holds him in very high regards. As an adult, Link once again is helping the Gorons face an evil threat from Ganondorf. This time, a much more sinister evil, as the King of Evil resurrected the ancient dragon Volvagia, a creature said to devour Gorons. In fact, Ganondorf even had several Gorons locked up within the Fire Temple, deep within the flames of the mountain. Link once again helps his sworn brother out, and enters the Fire Temple to free the Gorons and slay Volvagia. Directly after defeating the dragon, Link is teleported to the Chamber of Sages, where it's revealed that Darunia is the Sage of Fire. He is extremely thankful for Link saving his people for a second time, quickly reminding the hero that they are brothers. This time, he gives Link the Fire Medallion, and the hero pushes on with his quest to take down Ganondorf. Darunia is part of a long line of Gorons, the full extent of which we don't know. Another cool wee fact is that Divine Beast Vah Rudania is actually named after Darunia. It's an anagram from the former Goron leader. Bonus fact, his name originally comes from Darunia Town in the second Legend of Zelda game, The Adventure of Link. This is a reoccurring theme for the sages in this game. Far out in the distant reaches of the Gerudo Desert, inside the mighty desert colossus, we can encounter Nabooru. Initially as a child, Link meets the Gerudo, and unlike most Gerudo Link might have encountered or heard about thus far, Nabooru doesn't hold any hostility or aggression against him. It turns out she is anti-Ganondorf. In this time frame, the Gerudo people are still loyal to the King of Evil for the most part, but not Nabooru. She sees the morally wrong intentions of Ganondorf and his ways of going about things. She's trying to acquire the Silver Gauntlets, but they're out of her reach, so Link helps her get them as they'd be helpful in infiltrating Ganondorf's headquarters. However, when Link does acquire them, Ganondorf's surrogate mothers, Kotake and Kyume, who are also situated in this temple, intervene and capture Nabooru. Link is directed to safety in the nick of time, due to return in the adult era. When Link does return as an adult, Nabooru has been brainwashed by the witches, and she plays an interesting role in this dungeon. The mini-boss that Link encounters is an iron knuckle, or so he thinks. When he encounters the large suit of armor, both Kotake and Kyume are doing something with it. They command the unit to attack Link, and this forces him into battle. However, upon Link defeating the knuckle, the armor breaks off piece by piece, and inside is Nabooru. The exhalated Gerudo is free, or so we thought. The witches appear before Link can properly get to her, and they take Nabooru away once again. It's not until Link defeats the final bosses, Kotake and Kyume, that Nabooru would truly be free and revealed as the Sage of Spirit, giving Link the Spirit Medallion. Like Darunia, Nabooru also has connections far down the timeline. Divine Beast Va Naboris in Breath of the Wild is also an anagram for Nabooru, continuing the legacy of this famous sage. Also like Darunia, her name originally comes from a town in Zelda 2. In the Wind Waker, inside Hyrule Castle down in the basement levels, we can see a depiction of Nabooru and the other sages on these stained glass portraits, calling back to the game which at this point in time would have been around 100 years ago. And a fun fact about Nabooru is that she's the very first individual Gerudo to not be a foe of Link's. She's an ally on his side, something we wouldn't see again until Riju in Breath of the Wild. She's important because not only is she the Sage of Spirit, but this is the first time we saw a Gerudo warrior oppose Ganondorf, the one Gerudo male born every 100 years. Returning to Kakariko Village, in one of the homes here, we can find a fascinating character and his family. This is the Cursed Rich Man, a nameless man who resides within the House of Skulltula, along with his cursed sons. Once upon a time, this family was rich. Not just well off, but wealthy. However, it was due to their divine greed that they became cursed, and took this half-form of Skulltulas. They appear in this haunting half-and-half form, a Skulltula base with limbs and body parts sticking out. If Link speaks with the man, he explains that the only way to lift the curse from his family is to find and destroy all 100 golden Skulltulas across Hyrule. The incentive for Link to do this is money. The cursed man promises Link sums of rupees for helping to free his family. Each time Link returns after completing a set of golden Skulltulas, he is rewarded. But who exactly cursed the family in the first place? Well, it's nobody specific. Apparently, the lore states that it was the golden Skulltulas themselves that did this. Perhaps meaning that these creatures have some way of sensing extreme greed, and punishing those who take that too far. The levels of wealth they once had spread to the reaches of Zora's domain. One Zora at the domain references the family in relation to the Zora tunic, saying only someone like them could afford such a piece. If Link does collect all 100 gold Skulltula tokens, the man and his family will have the curse lifted, and we can talk to them in their normal form. This isn't the only instance of a rich man suffering from his greed in the Zelda series, but for the next instance, we'll have to wait for the Twilight Princess episode. Rauru, also known as Kepora Gibora, is the Sage of Light. We first encounter this notorious owl after setting out to Hyrule Field for the first time. At this point in time, Link has no clue who this is. He's just a talking owl who helps to direct the hero in the right direction. But in reality, this is the owl form of Rauru. Most well known for infuriating generations by asking if we want to hear his dialogue again, and most of us accidentally hitting yes. Sometimes more than once. However, there is some genuinely fascinating lore and backstory behind this character. We first meet Rauru in his sage form after Link draws the Master Sword for the first time, allowing Ganondorf to sneak in and resulting in the hero being kept within the Chamber of Sages for 7 years. It's when Link wakes up that he is face to face with the Sage of Light, who quickly explains to Link that he has been stuck here until he came of an age to be the hero, telling him that Ganondorf has taken over the kingdom, and that basically, Link must go deal with that. Rauru gives Link the Light Medallion and sends him on his way to awaken the other sages so together they can seal away the evil. Unlike the other sages, Rauru has an extremely interesting backstory. During the Era of Chaos, not long before Hyrule as a kingdom was established, it's said that Rauru built the Temple of Time, directly over the remains of the sealed temple deep within the Faron Woods. This protected the Triforce during the Interloper conflict, which, in short, was a war for control of the Triforce in Sacred Realm. If you want to learn more about this conflict in detail, I have a lore video going over it, link below. Rauru chose the name Temple of Time from legends told from the era of Skyward Sword, a hero who wielded the Blade of Evil's Bane and travelled between 2 time periods. The temple is named after Link's time travelling. Rauru chose to remain within the Temple of Light, located in the centre of the Sacred Realm, leaving the watch to Kaepora Gaebora, his wise and watchful owl form. Knowledge of the Sacred Realm slowly faded into legend over the years, along with the name, Rauru. For the longest time, it wasn't actually confirmed that Rauru and Kaepora Gaebora were the same character. It was in 2011, 13 years after the release of Ocarina of Time, that it was confirmed in the Hyrule Historia book. It was pretty likely given their similar characteristics, but this was the official confirmation. Like the other sages already talked about, Rauru's name also appears in Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Rauru Town can be found in this game. In this timeline, perhaps the name didn't fade entirely. Now, something that has led to some interesting theories, but also confusions, is the name of the king we see in Tears of the Kingdom, or rather, the founding era shown to us in Tears of the Kingdom. In that game, we meet another Rauru, this time the first king of Hyrule, who is Zonai. It hasn't really been explained if he is one of the same, just depicted massively different. There's strong theories that this era of founding isn't the same as the one seen in Skyward Sword, the original founding of Hyrule, but rather a refounding of the kingdom many ages later, starting its own new timeline essentially. And it's one of these things where we probably won't get a definitive answer, not anytime soon anyway. In Skyward Sword, we also meet a character named Gaepora, who strikes a resemblance to Rauru in one particular area. I believe this is just a little reference, but it's worth pointing out. Up the back of Zora's domain, at Zora Fountain, we can enter Lord Jabu Jabu's belly, who acts as the game's third dungeon. Inside here, we meet one of the most annoying characters in the Zelda series, Princess Ruto. The currently missing daughter of King Zora, she found herself trapped inside this deity as she carelessly dropped the Zora Sapphire, one of the 3 spiritual stones that Link is after, in the water. She dropped it in the water, which was then swallowed by Lord Jabu Jabu, who in recent times has been acting weird, now with the Zora Princess trapped inside. Ruto is quite the character. Despite being trapped with no help other than Link when he reaches her, she displays quite the negative and entitled attitude towards the hero. I think it's fair to say that she's a bit of a spoiled princess. No matter how much Link helps her, she gives him an attitude. As a player, the amount of times I wanted to just leave her and do it myself was unreal. Unfortunately, you do need to work with the princess, and it's through her that Link obtains the Zora Sapphire. After clearing the boss and cleansing Lord Jabu Jabu of the parasites inside his gut, Link and Ruto are teleported out. Princess Ruto's mood changes here, her attitude vanishes, and she kindly gives Link the Zora Sapphire. However, Link is not fully aware of the implications that brings. The relic is used in Zora royalty as an engagement ring. At this moment, Link technically becomes engaged to the Zora princess. It's not until the pair meet again as adults that this fact really sets in. As Link is going through the Water Temple quest, he really learns of this fact. However, thankfully for the dashing and single hero, after beating the Water Temple and awakening Ruto as the Sage of Water, she puts their engagement on an indefinite hold due to her role as a sage, allowing our stallion of a hero to get mingling. Like the other sages, her name also calls back to a location in Zelda 2, Ruto Town. Her name is also referenced in Divine Beast Varuta, not an anagram, but a clear reference to the name. Some other small details of interest are that in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, we can find Ruto crowns, an item said to have been worn by princesses of the Zora royal family. In Breath of the Wild, we can also find a stone monument that details Ruto's story, a unique and cool part of documenting Zora history. Before getting into the final NPC of the video, I have a few honourable mentions that I'd like to bring up. These characters are interesting for smaller reasons, such as just their personalities or little oddities. So here we go. In the heart of Hyrule Castle Town, we can find the Happy Mask shop in the market centre, owned and run by the Happy Mask Salesman. A cheerful man who sells masks, funny enough, through a unique borrowing and selling system. Link can work with him to help sell masks through a trading sequence quest. Link borrows a mask and tries to sell it. If he makes 4 sales, he receives the Mask of Truth, which allows him to understand the Gossip Stones, as well as the ability to return whenever and borrow the previously sold masks. It's fair to say the salesman is an interesting character. He's well-travelled and has a lot of interesting knowledge. He possesses many fascinating and curious masks, some rather basic and others quite mysterious. Whilst typically a very happy guy, the salesman's mood can swiftly change if Link returns without enough rupees from selling his masks. He snaps, becoming angry and threatens Link. Though, if Link leaves and gives some time to cool off, everything will be forgotten when the hero returns. When Ganondorf takes over the kingdom during Link's 7-year absence, the Happy Mask salesman leaves town with his collection. It's not known where he went during this time, but he is seen again during the game's credits after Link is sent back in time, celebrating at Lon Lon Ranch. However, his story does not end here. As many of you may know, the Happy Mask salesman becomes a key character in the sequel to Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. He goes from a mask salesman in Castletown to an extremely mysterious and in many ways unexplained character with many questions surrounding him and who he truly is. However, that lore dive will have to wait for the next episode, where we will be visiting Termina and looking at the lore of Zelda's NPCs in Majora's Mask. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a cheeky wee like down below, as well as subscribing for lots more fabulous Zelda content and future episodes of this series. That's us looked at Ocarina of Time's NPCs now, so next up is Majora's Mask. It'll take a little while to make that video, but I will be getting on it right away, so please look forward to that. Let me know down in the comments who your favourite NPC in Ocarina of Time is, whether it's for their lore, cool backstory, or you just find them interesting. Let me know. A massive thank you goes to all of my channel supporters across both YouTube memberships and Patreon. Their financial backing of the channel is a huge part of making videos just like this one all the more possible. If you'd like to help further support my content beyond just watching, which is already more than enough, as well as getting yourself some cool rewards, then check out the supporting links down in the description. Also down there are links to my socials if you'd like to keep up to date with me, or join my Discord server. There's an amazing group of Zelda fans in there to chat to, as well as a terrific mod team who keep the place running. Thanks again for watching, folks. I wish you a great rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.